How does a cash offer benefit a buyer and a seller in a real estate transaction? This is the topic of this video today. I'm currently working with a client and she's a cash buyer. We're putting an offer on a $1,850,000 house today. The home is in multiple offers and we are coming in at asking price and we are cash and no contingencies. So therefore we have the opportunity to communicate directly with the real estate broker to find out if the price of the home is going to escalate in price. But when it comes to conditions, man, we're strong. If the seller picks our offer, the odds of our offer going through is like, can I say 100%? Like 99.9%. So this may benefit the buyer because they are coming in very strong. However, I've communicated with the listing broker and no other proposed offers, because the offers are just coming in right now, have been submitted or have been presented or communicated as they're being cash. Now, if we weren't cash, we can still compete, but we would, at this point in time, probably want to add in an offer escalation clause, meaning, hey, we're willing to pay $20,000 higher than the highest offer, but not to exceed whatever number we're comfortable with. And that number may be $2 million. Hard to say. Offers sometimes escalate up by 3%, sometimes they go to 10%. But in this market that we're in right now, statistically, sellers are getting asking price. Last month, the statistical odds were 3% to even 5% under asking price. But we're in the peak of the market. It's 2023. Things are heating up and there's inventory's low and buyers are buying. Buyers are competing. They don't want to lose deals, especially when it's a unique home like the one we're dealing with, where it has a view of downtown Bellevue. There's just something special about it, and it increases that desirability and that competitiveness that somebody really wants this property and doesn't want to lose it, because the chances of finding something like that twice is a little bit harder. So how does it benefit the seller by taking a cash offer? There's really not much of a financial difference, financing versus cash. The main thing is if you're looking at 3 offers or 10 offers and it's a stack of papers, right? And it's like, who wants this? Who's the strongest? Who's the best person? Well, when you have cash, it automatically puts you at the top of the stack. Now, once it's a cash offer, you still have to look at contingencies. How much does this person want the property? Are there any signs that they're willing to back out? If they're asking for, a 10-day review time period to make sure that the property, all the information is correct, well, that may be interpreted as a sign of weakness coming from the buyer. If they're asking to do an inspection on the property when the seller's already done an inspection report, well, that's just another layer of liability. But if there's an offer that's cash, waiving inspections, waiving title, waiving any type of contingency that goes with it, that means they're buying the property no matter what. So in most contracts, buyers are pledging an earnest money that if they don't perform, they will lose the earnest money. There are times where the contract is written up where they're pledging more than the earnest money, and they could have an additional liability on top of that. But a good contract will be written up where the forfeit of the earnest money is the only legal remedy of non-performance of contract. With that said, when a seller's looking at all the offers, they want to know who's going to perform, who wants this. So it comes down to who's willing to close the fastest. Some buyers will say, look, I'm going to give you $100,000 earnest money that I won't back out, but I am so serious that I will not only deposit the money in escrow, I will release it to the seller before closing. So at that point in time, you're just doing jumping jacks saying, I want this property no matter what. There's times like, how else can you motivate a seller to pick your offer in a multiple offer situation? Well, what's their closing time frame? Is the home vacant? Well, in that scenario, if you're cash, we can close this thing in a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, versus if you're doing financing, yeah, maybe you can close in 20 days, but typically you're looking at a 30-day close and sometimes even a 45-day close. If the owner is occupying the home, well, you can still potentially close earlier in 1 week or 2 weeks if you're cash, and you can allow the seller, to have possession of the property for an additional week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. I mean, there is a layer of liability that you add because now you're turning the property into a rental property, but that's part of what contracts are for. But if you're financing the home, most of the time you're on the lender's guidelines. They have to get an appraisal, they have to review things, they have to make sure all the guidelines are met, and it just takes time. Some sellers really are looking for certainty. It's not if they're 3% higher or even 10% higher, right? If you're selling a $2 million house, really how much difference is $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, right? It really comes down to who is going to close, and can I rest assured that this contract is going to close. I'm going to have my money in time, and I can take that money to the next home or for the next investment or whatever it is. You can go on with your goals and you can sleep at night not wondering if the deal is going to fall apart. So if you pick a cash buyer that has no contingencies, your odds of closing are so much greater. So does it benefit you to be a cash buyer? Absolutely. Well, what if you don't have the cash? You only have 5% or 10% or 20% down. That's okay. You can still compete with cash, right? It's just proper communication with the listing broker, understanding what the seller's needs are, and putting your best foot forward. Now, if you want to be a cash buyer, there are programs out there that we can represent you having cash, closing cash, but by doing that, it potentially can cost you 2 or 3% additional fees for doing that. And does it make sense? Well, maybe. What if you didn't have to overpay 5 or 10% by escalating the price up? Or let's say it's not a multiple offer situation and you're still going in cash with a fast close. Could we negotiate the price down 2%, 5%, 10%? Maybe, right? So there are times where cash can really benefit you. Now, you don't have to pay cash for property, but wouldn't it be nice to have that option? That's the way we look at it. So anytime that we're working with a buyer, we always do an intake consultation and figure out, what it is we can do to help them compete. And it really comes down to the market conditions, right? If a house has been on the market for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, cash doesn't become as important because now you can do financing and you can ask for seller to credit you back some money and buy down some points. You can do an inspection. But when homes are going on the market and they're selling within the first week and they're selling with multiple offers on it, you really need to understand how to play, because it's not going to be every single home, no matter how hot the market is. There are sellers that put their house on that are overpriced and they're not going to attract a multiple offer no matter what. So there is a strategy to get those properties as well. With that said, I'm Matt Steele, Steele Realty Group. Hopefully this is helpful. If you have more questions regarding the cash process, buying and selling, feel free to reach out. My information is in the contact below. Fill it out and I'll reach out and look forward to helping you buy or sell your house. Till next video, catch you later. Are you thinking of moving to Seattle, the Pacific Northwest? Click the link below for a free relocation guide where I go over the top schools, top neighborhoods, the best places to go, and so much more.